Welcome to the Wake Up Call Live, where we have authentic, action-oriented conversations about creating truly inclusive workplaces where people feel they belong. Hi, I'm Laurie Battaglia. I'm the CEO of Aligned at Work, and each month I sit down with change makers that are navigating the difficult waters of life and work. We dive deep into what's working, what isn't, and what's next in leadership and life. It's about real people and real impact. I invite you to be part of the conversation. You can put a question or a comment in the box and we'll be happy to address it on the show. Your voice matters. I can't wait for you to meet today's guest. And oh my goodness, am I excited today. So I want to introduce everyone to Hady Mendez. She is a New York best-selling author, and there's her book name right there, Calladita No More. Great book. We'll get to that. She's a proud Puerto Rican and a Latina speaker and an ERG coach. She's founder and CEO of Boldly Speaking LLC, and she focuses on empowering Latinas, women of color, and other underestimated leaders. She currently serves as a director of programs at Lean In Latinas, an organization that's doing fabulous things. And I am really thrilled to have her on our Wake Up Call Live. So, Hady, I'm going to get to you in 1 second. I am Laurie Battaglia, and I'm the CEO of Aligned at Work in Scottsdale, Arizona. We are the organization that people call when they want to create workplaces where the humans actually want to show up to work. And we're going to have some of those conversations today, too. Just because both Hady and I do. So if you're really sensitive about that sort of language, I don't know, maybe listen to it later. But I'm glad that everybody's here today. Please do put comments in. So Hady, is there anything I missed in your bio? Would you like to say any more about your background, which is incredible? Long time in corporate and so many stories.
Yes, I did. I spent over 25 years in corporate at the intersection of technology and financial services in a lot of customer-facing roles. And my most recent role was head of equality at a major tech company. So yeah, I'm writing from, I think, a point of view where I have a lot of lived experience that I can share.
And boy, we were talking about this right before we went live. I read your book, and first of all, it's super readable. And I would say highly recommended for women, but also recommended for men or non-binary people or whoever wants to pick this thing up, something from this book. Especially if you're a person that doesn't feel like you can speak up in certain circumstances, you can't come forward. So I was really excited to read it. I could relate to a lot of the stories.
Yeah.
And I said to you right beforehand, like, I don't want to get off on my experiences, but wow, are they similar? And I think I'm just a tad older. And I'm wondering, was that something we were talking about the show Mad Men, and how if anybody wants to see what it was and still is in some cases, like, watch that show.
Yes.
That show. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I've been rewatching that show, Mad Men, for fun, something different. And I know that it's like set in the 60s. So, this is way before my time in corporate, which started in the 90s. Some of the stuff it's a little triggering. I watched an episode yesterday where Don Draper told Peggy Olson, who's like the sole female like person on the copy team, and he tells her, she was asking for more money, I believe, or like a higher position or both. I forget which. And he was like, stop, just stop asking for stuff and do your job. And, it was like extra, because he was like yelling at her and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it was a little bit of a triggering moment. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, when you are trying to self-advocate and you are advocating to the wrong person, that's what could happen. You could imagine how that shuts you down and you don't want to do it anymore. But the truth is that when it's a healthy, safe environment, it shouldn't be met with anger and yelling. It should be met with like curiosity. And it's like, okay, say more. Like, tell me why you think you deserve this, or what have you done? And, let's talk about your achievements and the way you've overperformed. And let's see if we could set a time frame for when, realistically we could get you promoted or to the next level. So I think that's what happens in a healthy, safe place. And And Mad
Yeah.
Men is like an example of what could happen when it's very non-fertile soil.
Yes. Yes. And our friend Angela just weighed in and said, "What up, y'all? Excited for this conversation."
Hi,
So
Angela.
yes, I am too. So let's talk a little bit about why you wrote the book. What does, for those who do not speak Spanish, what does Calladita mean? And when did you know that you were not going to be Calladita anymore?
Yeah, so calladita means quiet or silent. And I know those two things don't mean exactly the same thing, but there's a saying in Spanish, and that's anybody who speaks Spanish and is familiar with the saying is going to be like they're going to get the title. Like so people who only speak English are not going to get it in the same.
Mhm.
But if anybody does speak Spanish or is familiar with the refrán, calladita te ves más bonita, which translates to you're prettier when you're quiet, and it is
Ooh.
feminine. It's a feminine like saying.
Great.
So
Yeah.
Spanish is feminine and masculine, and this one is feminine, so it's like really directed at women. And that's a lot of us grew up with that saying.
Mhm.
And it's not a nice saying. It's not a saying that supports self-advocacy or
Right.
supports us speaking out or up on behalf of ourselves. It's really telling us to remain silent. And so the title of my book is like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I did do that, and it didn't serve me at all.
Mhm.
And in fact, it worked against me, most
Mhm.
of the time. And so I stopped doing it, and then I'm encouraging other people to not do it too. So that it's like a rallying cry, is essentially. It's like, I'm not doing this anymore. And if you know what
Yeah.
time it is, you shouldn't be doing it either. So
Yes.
if I'm honest, it
Yeah.
wasn't a specific moment, to answer the other part of your question. There wasn't like
Yeah.
a single moment that I think defined me saying like, I'm not gonna be quiet anymore. I think it was a series
Right.
of moments, but
Mhm.
mostly it was me
Yeah.
feeling bad about myself. I was like, I didn't get the promotion. And sometimes
Yes.
I didn't even ask for it, Laurie. So that was
Yes.
the sad part. I just assumed that if I was doing good work, people would like recognize it and be like, Hady deserves a promotion. And people were, I never even asked for it, which is like the part I wanted to kick myself for that. So some of it was me being frustrated with myself and
Mhm.
just saying, I never asked for more money. I wasn't the Peggy Olson.
Right.
I didn't even get
Yes.
the chance to get yelled
He
at.
was very brave,
But
given, or
yeah,
desperate. I can't remember which it was, but yes.
but I will tell you that I avoided the situations for the very reason of what Don Draper did. I was worried that a senior leader was either gonna, I would say, like, punish me, for lack of a
Mhm.
better word, that I would be penalized in some way for
Yeah.
daring to be disagreeable or to be challenging a senior leader. Senior leaders know everything. They know right from wrong. They know when we're supposed to get
You do.
promoted. They know when we're promotable. They know when
Right.
we have when we're ready. Like that's the faith that I had in the system.
Yeah.
And so
It's not that way.
no, that's not really
No.
true. Sometimes, some of us are ignored or dismissed, and
Yeah.
are going to have to make a little noise in order to get noticed. And in
Mhm.
order for people to not keep us in a box that they've put us in, sometimes we are put in
Mhm.
a box, and that box can
Definitely.
be because of bias, because of prejudice, racism, sexism, other isms. We're
Mhm.
like, we're this way. And it's like, no, actually, we're not that way.
Right.
Sorry, sorry to
Right.
sorry to disappoint you, but that is not my story. Let me tell you what my story is. And so I understood over time, after disappointing myself, to being disappointed by other people,
Yeah.
being disappointed by situations and things that
Yes.
didn't happen for me, that I had to show up differently if I wanted different outcomes. So it was an accumulation of things that finally set me on the path to say, you know what,
Mhm.
this is not working for me.
Yeah. And by the way, Veronica, we see you and you are fangirling over Hady right now because so many of these things resonate with you. Like I said, I was, there we go. I was, as I read your book, thinking back to, I got into the banking industry in 1978. And I was 21 years old, so everybody can do the math. And I remember just women were not even, it was like being Peggy Olson on Mad Men. Why would you even ask for that? And I am a person who's pretty straight up. I was raised by sturdy German farm people in southeastern Pennsylvania, even though I now live on the West Coast. And they, very direct and just say what you think.
Mhm.
And that did not go well for me. So
Yeah.
I would say that back in those days, pre-90s, in the late 70s and early 80s, I was coming in just as women were starting to get the right to actually have a credit card in their own name or a business in their own name or
Yeah.
any of those kinds of things. We're both business women, and I know stories where a woman had to take her 18-year-old son to sign for her business because she couldn't. And so that was 1978 was that sort of tipping point where some of the legislation came in, but then legislation doesn't mean that hearts and minds are going to change that quickly.
No,
and I
not
found
at
I
all.
did have to leave one place and go to another.
Yep.
So, and you've done the same. You've been able to sort of move your career around and make the best of it from what I've read in the book and what we've talked about a little bit before this call.
Yeah, there definitely were. I mean, there were two companies where I stayed for 7 years each, which I think is a lot in today's environment. I remember my ex-husband's that IBM for 40 years. That doesn't happen anymore. Like,
Yeah.
you don't see that
Some
too much.
do, but rare. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very rare.
Yeah.
So now people hop around, but I stayed at two banks for 7 years each, which I felt, was a decent amount of time. And I had several roles. I held several roles in both organizations. I got promoted. I had a goal to make $100,000 by the time I was 30. And I achieved that goal, which was a big, nice goal for me.
Yeah.
So that, it wasn't all like bad. I feel like I had some really good moments. I had some good leaders. I talk about in the book about one amazing leader that I had that really shaped how I lead. And
tell us about her and the impact that she had, because I think a lot of times leaders don't know how much impact they have and then the ripple effect of that over time.
Yes.
Tell us about her.
I think she saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself, if I'm honest. So she just saw something in me and she was like, "You're it, girl. You're it. I'm gonna bet on you." Yeah. And that's what she did. She made sure that I got promoted. She was talking about me when I wasn't in the room. Her manager, who was an executive, a C-suite executive, would come to me and say, "Hi, Hady, how are you? I heard you did this, that, and the third."
Yeah.
And I was like super nervous. I was like a junior nobody at the time. And I was like, I didn't really know what to say except like, "Thank you." I really didn't talk to him. I didn't have the confidence to really say more than a sentence or two to him. But I know that behind the scenes, she was talking me up. And sometimes, people, lots of men, but not exclusively men, would try to go around me and go to her. And they would be like, I've been trying to work with Hady. She's just difficult. She doesn't, and trust me, I don't think I'm difficult. I was like by the book. So it was like, if someone was like, "Oh, I'm not doing it that way," I was like, "You have to, because you're doing a project and everyone else is doing it this way. And I'm going to need the same thing from you." Yeah. So, I was by the book. I was not, difficult in any way, but she would send them back to me. She's like, "I don't know. You're going to have to figure it out with Hady. She's the project manager." Yeah. And like the fact that she empowered me and she made sure that I had all the opportunities. Any training that I wanted to do. I was doing like Dale Carnegie in the evening. I went for like certifications and advanced degrees. She sponsored everything. And she also made sure that like I had power and that power was distinct and separate and apart from any power that she had. She could step in at any time. She had that power. Yeah. People respected her. And people were scared of her too, by the way.
That doesn't hurt.
But yeah, that was separate and apart from me. Yeah. She made sure that I could stand on my own 2 feet. And she also let me make mistakes. And then afterwards she was like, "Yeah, how'd that work out for you?"
Yes.
And she was like, what did you learn something from? Okay, good. Would you do it different? Okay, good. But she let me do me, grow and learn. Yeah. And I'm just so grateful for her. And the thing that she's the person who modeled for me how I wanted to lead, because she made sure that I had my own power and she amplified my voice. She was never threatened by me. Like if people were like, wow, Hady did that project, that was so amazing. She was like, I know, she is amazing.
Yes.
You know, so she never took anything away from me. That's just, you
I
know,
love that.
and I didn't know it at the time, but she was an amazing manager. I only like 30 years later, looking back, was like, she was amazing. She was really like,
isn't that the way that when we reflect back,
yeah,
like, oh, I didn't appreciate, like, I didn't fully know what was happening.
yes,
Because my first mentor, before we had the word mentor, my first mentor was a guy. Because most of the women that were in senior leadership positions at that point were so few and far between and had given up so much, they were like, I'll just be over here watching. But he was willing, because I went to him with ideas, to do what your leader did for you. And it was just an amazing experience. It stuck with me. It was when I was in my early 20s, and it stuck with me to this day. So Rich Mears, if you're out there, thank you for that.
Amen.
Tell us about some of the ones you learned from that. Maybe it was something you saw done to you or to other people that you're like, I'm never going to do that to people.
I guess, you know, I talk about this in the book too. I had a manager who didn't promote me when I definitely was exceeding like my goals. I had been there like enough time. I walked in with a lot of experience, and probably more experience than the role I was put in. So I was a very senior person in not such a senior role, but I had left corporate for 5 years to do some nonprofit work. And when I came back, they hired me in like a more junior role, but I was clearly exceeding expectations and overperforming. And I won like an award that year, and only enrolled for 9 months, and I still won the award. So it's like, everything was a go, everything was green. Let's go. Everybody, you know, waving me in, and I didn't get a promotion that year. And when I asked him about it, he's like, well, you never talked to me about it. You know, we never had a conversation about it. And I was like, dude, like, how is that a thing? Like, and apparently like now managers get away with saying things like that. But to be honest with you, that shouldn't be the case. People should be put up for promotion when they're ready, when they're, you know, exceeding the expectations, when, you know, I don't know, compared to their peers, they're doing a better job. I don't know. They seem ready to handle like more responsibility of like whatever the next role or net level is. So anyway, that taught me a valuable lesson, because after that, I was like, I won't take that chance anymore. I'm always going to be letting managers know what I want. And in fact, like I remember the very next manager I had after that, in our very first meeting, I was like, I just want you to know that I want to be promoted in the next 12 to 18 months. She was like, what? You just got here. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm letting you know now, because I'm not playing a game. This is not a game for me. Do not play with my money. Do not play with my position. Like I'm going to perform really well, and I'm going to be expected. I'm expecting compensation and recognition for that work. And I'm telling you now that you're going to be impressed by what I'm going to do. And then I'm expecting to be compensated for it.
I've actually had that conversation too. You can't have it too early, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
And I think it tells you everything you need to know. If your boss is like, what? And very put off or reacts badly to it, well, now you know what you need to know. So,
1000%. I agree. And most people, the way you know, I guess after maybe the little bit of shock, I think the correct response to that is, great. Let's make it happen. Good to know. Let's work together to make it happen. Now I know that you're ambitious. Now I know where you see yourself in 3 years, 5 years, whatever. You know, I'm going to support you in that endeavor. I'm going to create, like, if there are opportunities, I'm going to make sure that to put you in them, you know? So it's like, I think that's what that does, is it keeps you top of mind. And it's like, oh, we're looking for someone to do something a little extra. Let's get Hady in here, because she's the one that's been dying to get promoted. And she's the one that's been, you know, front and center and, you know, the squeaky wheel around here. Let's give her some extra opportunities. And so, you know, I don't think everybody loves it. You know, I don't think that every manager has received that kind of, you know, me showing up like that. They haven't always received it in the best way, but they know what I'm about, and they know like my time horizon, and they understand what motivates me. So that is a gift that I'm giving that manager, all the things that they need to know for me to be a good employee and for me to do good work.
And you're opening the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot, when I sit and I think, well, we didn't have that conversation. Well, why didn't he have that conversation with you? Certainly we have enough one-on-ones in corporate life that along the way, I led people for years. I'm asking them, what is it that you want?
1,000%. There was no excuse.
Happy just to do it right here? Or did you see yourself going to something different? And what would that be? And are you interested in other parts of the organization? And can I introduce you to people? So, that's
how companies lose good talent.
It really is. It really is. And I think, and on the other side of that, I would say to people, don't expect that anybody's watching you carefully enough to know exactly what you do. It's up to us when we're in that role, any role, to let people know in some way, shape, or form, here's what I've been accomplishing. Here's where I'm stuck, if you trust the person. Here's where I'm stuck. I need to talk this through. And I'm also big on not, that stupid thing that people say, don't come to me unless you have answers. I'm not coming to you if I have answers. I'm just going to implement.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's interesting you say that, because I remember I would have one-on-ones with one of my managers, and I would tell her a bunch of stuff that I was dealing with. Yeah. And she's like, do you need me to do anything? I'm like, no, I don't. I will let you know when I need you to do something. I'm giving you an FYI so you know what battles I'm fighting out here. What's happening in the streets.
Or if you hear anything.
Yeah, if you hear anything, you already know my side of the story. But I'm going to tell you when I need your help. And I think that is it's managing up. You got to let managers know where you need the help and where you don't. And she wouldn't know that I'm fighting those battles if I don't tell her. So I also feel like that was also me covering myself and being like, now you know that I was able to problem solve, but I did want to make her aware that there were some challenges that I was experiencing, but I felt like I had them under control and I was dealing with them. But yeah, I think all of that is very important, and I like managing up in that way.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with one of my two favorite bosses. Both my favorite bosses were women, and both of my least favorite bosses were men. And I alternated them. I went from man to woman at the end of my career. And so I was having a conversation one day, and I was like, I need you to tell your friend so-and-so over there to have her boys stand down, because I'm going to come at him and he's not going to like it.
Yeah, he's not going to like it. I love that. That's good. I like
and she was like,
very good, Laurie.
Say no more. What's going on? And so
say less. Say less. I got you, Laurie. Yeah, for real. But it's true. People, that's how managers can help.
Yeah.
And so it's good for us to be clear and to show. I think it demonstrates managers don't like to get in the middle of other people's messes. That's never fun. No. That's not, by the time it's already over there, it's so messy and so, that's not good. Those are not,
and tasks. If I had a relationship with that other female senior manager, I would have just gone to her directly.
Yeah.
But at that point I did not. So I needed my boss, who was her friend, to tell her, tell him, and we're all okay now. Years later, we're fine. But in the moment, he just kept poking me, and I was like, dude,
this is not going to end well.
Trust me. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me see what else I want to ask you about. So if people haven't read your book yet, Calladita No More, here it is. Then what would you like them to know about that book? And by the way, everybody it's right there on the screen. They should definitely order the book.
Yeah. Amen. I echo that. Definitely order the book and get the audiobook if you don't like reading, or if you want to do the audiobook. I narrated it myself. I think you'll really enjoy it. Awesome. But I think the core message is that I want people to know that what they're experiencing is real. So those things that I said about where the I guess the story I was telling myself wasn't serving me. Yeah. I want them to know that experience is real.
Yes.
That they're not the only ones having that experience, because, I don't want to say misery loves company, but when, like you said, you read it and you were like, that's so funny, but years apart, decades apart, you're a white woman, I'm a Latina woman. And some of that stuff felt pretty familiar, and then we're watching Peggy Olson and we're like, how does Peggy Olson, that was around in the 60s, she's having a similar experience to what I had. So,
Yes.
these are not things that go away overnight. And so some of us, might still feel a certain type of way in certain situations. So you're not alone.
Yes.
You don't have to stay stuck. Like, I feel like some people are like, is this it? Like, do I just have to be miserable at work? It's
Have
like,
to
no,
put
no,
up
you
with this.
don't.
You
No,
get
you do
madder
not.
and madder. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
you know you do not. So
Mhm.
we can talk a little bit about how to get unstuck. And I think that there are lots of ways and strategies and tools out there to build the life that you want and deserve. And that's another, I want to empower my reader. I don't want my reader to feel like they're at the mercy of a corporation. I want them
Yes.
to feel like this, despite systems not being built for us, despite difficult people that we work with, we can
Right.
still thrive. And that's our goal. The goal is to thrive wherever we find ourselves. And if we are in a really, really toxic place, that we can have a strategy for getting out of there and going to a place where we are more valued and
Yes.
appreciated. So that sometimes, unfortunately, is the answer. We're going to have to move, or we're going to have to find a
Yeah.
new place to be.
Yes. Sometimes when I coach people, it's like, do you want to stay in that? Like, how long do you see yourself staying? Because sometimes we have to stay because of things like my hands are tied. I got to have the benefits. I've got to
Yep.
have the thing. The job, let's be
Yes.
real.
1,000. Yep.
There's people saying I can't find people. There's people saying I'm out of work and all but on the street. So like, I don't know what's going on, but it's a hot mess. So sometimes people stay, and I think money keeps people stuck in jobs and relationships and all the
Yep.
things.
And
Sometimes they stay, but
money, and sometimes, and this is maybe something somewhat unique to the Latino community, but I don't think exclusively. It could also be like first gen related or even immigrant related, but it's like your family made so many sacrifices. You're the first
yes,
one now, and then you're gonna
right.
poo-poo it and be like, I don't want this. It's
Gonna
like,
leave a perfectly good job.
girl, exactly. You need to be grateful. You need to,
Yes,
you're the only one that has like insurance from an employer. Like, you have good insurance. You
right.
have a retirement plan. How are you gonna like walk away from that? And I
Yep.
would say it's never like the first thing you should do. The first thing you should do is try to figure out how to make it work. But
Mhm.
if in spite of you trying to do that, and you're still, experiencing a lot of challenges, a lot of heartache, a lot of setbacks,
Yeah.
then I think you have to be honest with yourself and say, listen, I'm going to stay here as long as I need to stay here, but I need to look for plan B. Like, there needs to be a plan B, plan C. I need an alternative to this. Like, this can't be it. And don't settle. Don't settle because that's what's expected of you. Don't settle out of guilt. Don't settle out of people pleasing. Don't settle out of any of those things. Like, you deserve a good life. You deserve to love your work. You deserve to
Yeah.
thrive at work. You deserve to be in an environment where you are safe and you can do your best work. So look for that environment. Like, it's out
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the other advice I would say is that people, when they step into a new role, it's as good as it's going to get. It's like first date nice when you're interviewing. So if you're having a bad interviewing experience, just like stand back from that and go, okay, well, I mean, maybe I have to take this job right now, but is it where I'm going to stay for the long haul? Or am I going to go in and test the waters and keep my resume out there? And
Yeah.
I see a comment about being scared in this job market. Yes. But I think sometimes you can also like keep your job and put a foot out there, because sometimes in the worst of job markets, I'm evidence of that. I actually, at the bottom of the recession, was with my worst boss ever. And I was like, uh-oh, this isn't going to end well. I need to go before anything happens. And so, and I did, and I was just out there testing the waters, and I found actually the same job I had at a different place. And it was with that female boss that I really loved, and I ended up with a female boss I really loved.
Yeah.
So you just never know. Like, sometimes the stories you tell yourself are damn straight up. Yes, they are. And other times you tell yourself stories, or you're so beaten down by employers that you're stuck. So what do people do when they get stuck like that? What advice do you have for folks
I
to make
think
that move?
I think you need to remind yourself that you deserve more. Like, to me, that's what kind of keeps me motivated, is like, this is, there are people out there that are happy, that love their jobs,
Yeah.
that are thriving. So like, I deserve that too. Why wouldn't I deserve that? And I have lots that I bring to the table. I have lots of skills, think the skills that are transferable,
Yeah.
value that I can bring to an organization. Like I said, when I got hired by that one company after I came back from nonprofit, I was in a customer facing role and they treated me like I was like a newbie. Like, I had just graduated from school. I was like, okay, that's fine. I took that job, which was a lot less money. And I was like, y'all are going to see what I'm going to bring. And I brought it. I brought everything to the table. And, I did get some rewards for doing that. I did get like people notice. And then when I went to another
Right.
job after that, people were like, how are you here just 2 weeks and you're already having the level of customer meetings that you're having? I'm like, because
Yeah.
I've done this before and I'm
Right.
good at this.
Right.
Hello. I know
Yeah.
I'm not the type of person that you think would be good at this, but I am. And, so believe in yourself,
Yeah.
believe that you deserve good things, that you're worthy of it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
don't give up. Like what's meant for you is not going to pass you by. So
I like that message in the book.
stay ready for the
Yeah.
opportunities that are out there for you. And like, know that like sometimes it's going to be rough. I've had
Yes.
my setbacks and it
Yeah.
is, I don't wish that on anybody, but
Yeah.
I've also had really, moments that I was like, somebody pinched me. I can't believe this is happening to me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've had
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
And usually I'm mostly somewhere in the middle. I'm not in either extreme, but like you deserve more. And, I've also had coaching clients that are like, I've been there 13 years and I haven't got promoted. I'm like, girl, you in danger, girl. Get out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Like
Run.
yeah, exactly. I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
That is not your place because you would,
Yeah.
that's not normal. So
Mhm.
just letting you know, like, and
Yes.
I'm assuming you've had some conversations, but even if you haven't, like 13 years is a long time. So I was like, so, you also have to be realistic, like
Mhm.
assess the situation, but
Mhm.
don't give up before you've had conversation. So you got to ask for things and you got to be showing up for yourself before you say, this place isn't for me. No, do all those
Yes.
things. And if still nothing happens, then you're like, okay, this is not the place for me. Because in spite of me showing up for myself, advocating, having all my receipts, telling people all the things I've achieved, showing up, doing extra work, going above and beyond with customers, and everybody still ignores me and dismisses me, well, then that sounds like a culture issue or maybe just not a good fit from a culture perspective. And
Right.
it might never change. And
Right.
that doesn't, again, if you are in the situation when you need that paycheck and you need that medical insurance, stay where you are, but start looking.
Do what you
You
need
could
to
do two
do.
things at the
But
same time.
yeah. Yeah. And I think that here's a call out to women in general. I think women need to support other women and not just like, you got this, girl. Yes. And you need to have those women who are high enough on the whatever corporate hierarchy that they can see where you can fit in, where they can extend a hand. The kinds
Yes.
of things that your best boss was doing for you can be done sometimes through mentorship and sponsorship as well. And why can't we do that for each other? It's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah, I think Angela said it best. That scarcity mindset is what drives people to gatekeep and be like, there's only going to be enough room for one woman up here.
Yeah.
And that's me. I've had people
Yep.
tell me that to my face. They're like, you know what? You do great work, Hady, good for you, but you're not getting promoted because there's only room for one woman now. And that person's me. I'll let you know when it's your turn. Like,
Man.
more or less, that's the message I've gotten.
Yeah.
And it happens, and it's not just other women doing it to each other. It's anybody who I was married to someone who also had a scarcity mindset. He was a man, he was a man, and he also was like, I'm not like part of his job was like teaching the new people what he knew and what he did. He was like, I'm not teaching them anything. Like, they're gonna get like the bare bones because I'm the one that knows X, Y, and Z. And that's what makes me valuable. And I'm gonna make sure that I'm the only one that knows X, Y, and Z. They're going to have to pry it out of my dead hands kind of thing. And it's like, okay, whatever. But like, I don't feel that way ever. Like, I feel like sometimes there's people who I compete directly with for business and we've helped each other. And we're like, Hady, take this opportunity. And it's not just because I can't do it. It's just like, there could be a variety of reasons, a myriad of reasons why I might direct someone to you or I might lift you up. I have a show on LinkedIn called Latinas Front and Center. I amplify the voice of many Latinas that are in the same business as I am, that do the same thing that I do, and some that do different things. But it doesn't matter to me. Like, I just want to amplify all of our voices because there's lots of opportunity out there, and I'm not going to be able to do it all. So
Right.
then we should be amplifying each other's voices. And I think it's really important to understand your role. Like you said, that like when you knock down a door, understand that you are creating opportunities for the people that are going to come behind you. And you have to take that responsibility very seriously. And I don't know if everyone does that.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone thinks of it that way. You know, some of them only see that they're breaking down the door for themselves.
Yeah.
But I don't see it that way. I see like the image that I get is I'm breaking down, I'm pushing this door or kicking this door down, and there's all these people behind me, and we're all going to go through that door. That's how I see it. But not everybody sees it that way for whatever reason. You know, everybody's like in Spanish, there's a saying, cada persona es un mundo. Everyone's like their own world, and maybe they have experiences in their life that have led them to like have those beliefs. But I feel that we all have a better chance of succeeding when we see it in the way that Angela described and that I described, which is abundance. There's plenty for everybody, and let's all win. Why can't we all win? We can. We certainly can win.
We really can. I mean, it's a lot of what comes into our lives is the way our mind thinks. I don't want to minimize the struggle. As we keep ourselves stuck in the struggle, because I've done it to myself. You're stuck in the struggle, and you're like, yeah, but is it really any better if I escape this, whatever it is, marriage, job, situation? And yeah, it is. But sometimes you don't have a better example to look at.
Yeah, so, I think to me, I talk about in the book, there's fear, and on the other side of fear is like liberation. But you gotta be brave. You gotta take that first step. You know, like so many people that I know just say, I'm just gonna stay where I am. It's like the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know. It's like, okay, that's one way of viewing the world. You might not get all the things or for you if you do that. But I've always been the type of person that I'm like, you know, if I don't like it, I'll do something else. Like nothing is permanent. So it's like you try something, it doesn't work out, then you try something else. And, you know, I do feel like it's worth the risk to get more reward. So it's like, yes, could I stay stuck in corporate in a job that I don't love? Or could I like start my own business and see what that feels like? And if I don't like it, or if it doesn't work out for me, then there's like maybe 10 other things that I can try. So it's not permanent. You know, there's a saying, it's like, you're not a tree, you can move, you know? So it's like, then just try it. If it doesn't work out, then go back. But like, I think I do feel like there's that risk reward, and the more risk we're willing to take, the greater the reward could be. And the reward could be that you're like living a life that is really aligned with your purpose and your values. And that's like a big reward. Say, take it, you know, take that chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. So let's see, my other questions that I want to make sure we get to. So talk a little bit about Lean In Latinas, how you got involved with that, and what that group is all about. I know the larger Lean In organization, and I know a little bit about Lean In Latinas because I had Nancy Marmolejo on here last year. But tell us about your role. Tell us about the group, and what should all people who are listening know about that?
Lean In Latinas is a really special place because it's where Latinas are celebrated and valued in a way that it's just, there's nothing really to compare it to be honest with you. And think of it as an ERG, except it's not inside your company, it's outside your company. So it's like all the Latinas that work in all the different industries and all the different organizations at all the different levels get together. And that's what Lean In Latinas is. So it's it's a safe space. It's a network. So we have lots of circles or like mini groups that make up that network. And you know, usually it's like based on either your geographical location or maybe like the job that you have. So like I'm part of Speakers and Coaches. That's a circle. So like I partner and work and get to meet other speakers and coaches. I also am kicking off a new circle in the new year called Bookish Latinas for people that are authors or would-be authors or illustrators, editors, anybody that loves books. So it's like, so we just keep making things up. We have one for introverted Latinas. We have one for like entrepreneurs. We have a circle for first-gen Latinas. So we have just like circles for everything. And I got involved with them couple years ago. I don't even remember the details. All I know is that it was at a time where I was struggling in my role, and I was like, I just needed a safe space to be with my people and not like have to code switch, not have to put on my happy face, not have to like be on, but just be like honest. If I wanted to cry and just be like, I hate my job, I need a new job, and cry about it, that I could be held and supported by the women in the group. And that's what happened. And then little by little, I saw, things that I really liked about the organization. I just kept like volunteering and like doing more things. And now I'm the director of programs, and I put on all the programming that affects the entire network. Every circle has like their own programming, and then we have programming for the entire network. We have a holiday mixer that we're doing next week, and we're bringing in like a comedian, and she's a Latina comedian.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, and she's funny, really funny. So we're gonna have her do a set, and then I'm gonna interview her, and like we're really excited about that. But we've done a lot of fun things. We had a first gen conference, like summit in the summer. We have an annual conference, which is just like everybody that comes is like, I've never been to a place where there's so many amazing Latinas. And that's the other thing, that it's like, that thing about like, you can't be what you can't see. Like you're just like, oh my God, it's like one amazing Latina after the other. Yeah. We don't usually have that at the places where we work. That is not a thing. We're lucky because you said you didn't have a lot of women in your senior leadership ranks when you were were going through corporate. I never had a Latina woman, barely in the senior ranks. So this is when I go, when people come to Lean In Latinas, we're all different at different stages of our careers, but it's like, oh my God, like there's a saying in Spanish, chingona. It's a Mexican term. And chingona means like badass. And it's like, there's so many chingonas in the room that you're like, you don't even like, it's a feeling.
Some are on the comments too. I know some of them.
It's a feeling that you can't even compare it to another feeling, because you just never have. Some people have never had that feeling of being in a room with only other chingonas and people that are rooting for you and that are not jealous of you and that are not competing with you and that are celebrating you and that are happy for you and that want to see you succeed. Like that's rare. And that's what we've created at Lean In Latinas.
I love that. I just love that. I mid-career, but I think sometimes when we're in those corporate environments, there's something in the way, I don't know, it's something I want to say in the air, but not really, where it just keeps you small. Yep. Like as soon as you say like, I've got the power, people are like, there, whoops, so I felt I knew that, and yet I didn't really know it until I stepped out. I do want to talk about some of the leaps of faith that you took in your career and the mission trip and all that kind of thing. But it just keeps you sort of like, you can't do that pushing it down so that you don't get too big for your britches, as my mother would say. Would have said. So you've taken some incredible risks. And one of them that I really liked reading about in the book was when you decided to go on a mission trip. And what did you learn from that? And, what would you do it again? Looking back on it?
Yes. Okay.
And how did it go during and after?
Yeah, I'll share with the audience for those people who haven't read the book. I was a missioner for 2 years in Cochabamba, Bolivia. And Bolivia is a developing country. So it wasn't easy. It was, it was definitely like living very simply. I was getting paid a $200 stipend a month. That's what I made for 2 years. And it stretched. It went a long way, believe it or not. And I worked with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women when I was there. Those were my jobs. I would be in jail all the time with the women. I started a support group for women there. And then I worked with the women that were getting out of jail. And I was like a life skills instructor. And I actually taught them speaking. So I did like a speaking intensive for the women that were getting out of jail. Yeah, that was, I still have videos. I still have the videos. So what did I learn? I learned a lot, but I think one of the most valuable lessons for me was that, I expected that, like, as the American and as the person coming from, with all my corporate experience, I had like probably 20 years experience at the time and my college degree and, all
the things,
I expected that I was going to be like the one saving the world. And like, I'm going to walk in jail and tell them all like how to like save their lives and things like that. And it ended up not being that way at all. I was very humbled by like my experience. It was, we ended up being very much like peer to peer. We were friends. I was visiting them. They were comforting me because remember, I was away from home, and we had a lot of parallels. I remember writing a blog post at the time about how we had parallels because they weren't with their families. I wasn't with their families for the holidays. It was a sad time for me. It was a sad time for them.
Yeah.
Obviously it's not exactly the same, but there were some similarities, and those similarities really brought us together. And anyway, I just got so much, I got a lot of friends from that experience. I felt very loved by those women. I felt very, it's different because you get humbled, like your degree and your profession and the money in the bank, that doesn't mean that much in those kind of settings. It's like, who are you? And, how are you showing up for other people? Like, how are you being present to another person? And I just feel like, so it really taught me a lot about like, yes, there are material things are great, but who we are deep down inside and how, we show up for other humans in their time of need, that is so much more important. And they modeled for me like what that could be like, showing up because they showed up for me. Yeah. And then I could show up and I showed up for them, and we showed up for each other. And it was really special. And I got kicked out of jail once because we were having too much fun.
I've been kicked out of places for having too much fun in my youth. Too loud.
That's essentially what happened to me. They're like, they're like, these women are here because they're being punished, and they're not supposed to have as much fun as they appear to be having right now. So you need to get out.
God forbid. And by the way, I want to invite people who are in the comments. If you have any questions for Hady, please put them there, and we will answer them live. We are coming down the home stretch of our hour together. So, oh gosh, so many things I could ask you. And what haven't I asked you that you're hoping to talk about?
I think one of the things I want to talk about is what happens when companies don't show up for our community. Like what is the impact to an organization that is not recognizing the Latinx talent at their companies, women of color, women in general, any underestimated. What happens when companies do that? And I think they're missing out on the talent. Like that's, far and away the biggest message and takeaway that I would tell a company is that, we just had Lean In just had a report come out, and the president and founder of Lean In Latinas said, Latinas we're here, we're ready, we have the talent. We need organizations to catch up to us because we are, we have been around for a long time, and we aspire to more leadership roles. And it's the companies that don't seem to be ready for that. I'll echo her comments by saying we have the skill set. We care deeply about the organizations we work for. Oftentimes we're doing a lot of unpaid work because we care. Like ERG leadership work, usually that's unpaid work. And, we're in the front lines, doing a lot of care, not only caring for ourselves, like navigating situations for our own career, but we're helping other people navigate, setbacks and challenges in their careers. But we do want to advance. We do want to be recognized. And when companies overlook us, I think they're just missing amazing talent. And and they're shortchanging themselves. Don't bring us in for performative purposes to, check the box and be like, okay, we got one Latina here, we got another Black woman there, we got this has two women in this group. That's not what this is about. This is about, bringing lots of different minds and experiences to the table to create the best products and services for your company and serving your clients in the best way. And you're just missing out when you choose to ignore what's right in front of you.
Yes. And I think we covered this. I wanted to ask, if a senior leader was listening and thinking, I don't want my people to feel like they have to be Calladita to succeed here, where would they start? And you outlined some things along the way that your best boss had done for you and all that. Is there anything else that you want to say about that?
I think that it's really important to create safe spaces because it's we remain calladita when we think we're going to get punished or we're going to get in trouble or people are not going to like us, or they're going to be like, who does she think she is? Like you said, boy, look at the pair on her that she thinks she can say that, right?
Right.
So when you create a safe space for everybody, not just for us, for everybody,
Yes.
protect that space like your life depends on it, because there are going to be some people, the madmens of the world, that are going to try and come and like
out there.
they're going to try and take us back to a different time, and they're going to say, make a comment or make a statement or imply something or do a microaggression or there's something, people, if we don't protect the sacredness or the sanctity of a safe space, someone can come and taint that space and make it an unsafe space. And I feel like the job of a leader, what they can do most is protect the space and call it out and say, that is not okay. What you just said is not okay in this space. I don't want to see that again. Or like, whatever, just make sure, whatever way you do it, make sure that you call out the behavior that is not okay, because we, and by we, I'm now bringing in all the underestimated people, the people that usually are, that they're scared maybe or nervous about speaking up. We're going to go back into our little cocoon if we start to notice that you're saying one thing and you're doing another, and you're like, hey, this is a safe space. But like when I say something, I always get shut down. Guess what? I'm not going to say things anymore. And you're not, and that means you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on maybe a good idea that I have, maybe a unique perspective that I bring. You're going to miss that. And so, that's what I would say to a senior leader is protect those safe spaces.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times it doesn't even have to happen to us personally, but we see somebody else that it gets squashed or their vulnerability gets taken advantage of or something. It shuts everybody down.
Everybody knows, like, we start looking at each other and we're like, oh, okay. I had a manager tell me that I was very disruptive. I talk about this in the book. And
yes.
Like, but you said this was a safe space. You said we could ask anything here. How all of a sudden am I being disruptive if you had declared this a safe space? So I thought I could ask things and I thought I could bring things up. And now I'm coming to find out that I'm going to get dinged on my performance review for saying things that you encourage me to say and ask. And it just was like, that's the inconsistency. And that's where I think a lot of leaders and companies fail, is that they don't, they say one thing, but the reality is different. And I think we, start to acknowledge that it's like, oh, okay, it's really not a safe space. We're just saying it's a safe space. We're calling it a safe space, but it actually is the same as every other space, which is that we're going to take notes on what you say and ask, and we're going to bring it up later if we need to. Yeah.
And it might show up on a review, as it did to me one time. It might show up on that review. I'm looking over here to make sure we don't have any unanswered questions. Can you speak to feeling guilt over other Latinas not being picked and you are the lightest, most white passing?
I guess I can't speak to that entirely. I guess that's not been my experience, because usually I'm the only Latina. I haven't had like, there's a couple of us, and then like the whitest one or the most fairest one or white passing one gets the opportunity. I haven't quite had one who is playing the game. Sometimes is the one who gets to, so they've kind of, they'll do the code switching. They're willing to like buy into whatever narrative people are talking about. They're not shaking things up. They're not pushing back. They're not questioning. They're not, so I find that as someone who will be questioning and pushing back, I find that I've gotten penalized a lot for that. So the fear that I get that I will get penalized has actually come true. I have gotten penalized for that a lot of times. And I've just come to accept that unfortunately, in a more senior role, you could handle that. Like when you're a junior person, maybe it's a little scarier, but as you're a little bit more senior yourself, you could absorb a little bit of that shock and be like, okay, I'm going to be the bad guy. That's fine. But like, you can count on me to be the bad guy. And and I know that I trust that I will be bringing stuff up, and you're not just going to slip things by me. And so I have found that people who don't operate that way and who are a little bit more agreeable and just like less likely to push back, I feel like those people sometimes get promoted before I do. And I know why. And it doesn't, I'm not in it for that. So it's like, okay, that's fine. Good luck.
Right.
Good luck with
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to fight for myself and my people. And I'm going to make sure that I am creating an environment where all of us are going to thrive. I'm not out here for myself. And I feel like the people that are out there for themselves, those are the people that usually are going, you might see them kind of rise through the ranks maybe a little quicker. And to be honest with you, they're going to hit a ceiling
Their
too.
time will come.
Yeah, their time is going to come later.
Yeah.
So, good luck.
And I always say sometimes not in this lifetime, but
yeah, but
they
yeah,
get found out and they have to live with themselves. And you can live with your moral integrity. And Veronica has a good point here. I'm struggling with both sides of not having opportunities, but when they come, however small or without more pay, I feel I'm taking the place of someone else. And she also corrected, we are not in leadership. The white-looking ones get picked. They were surprised when I was a loudmouth, one that does not assimilate as they expected. Yeah. So, yeah. And that's an opportunity, feeling like it should have gone to someone else.
I will say, I don't have a direct response to it should have gone to someone else, but I do have a response to, I was in a role where I think they picked me because they thought that they were going to be able to kind of manipulate me and get me to do what they wanted to. Yeah. And I talk about in the book, it was the job I had where I was getting the migraine headaches. If you remember that, that scenario for anyone who's read the book. I do. And that senior leader, she was a pill. And I knew, and I could tell that like I was a thorn on her side by the way she treated me and the way she talked to me. And, she would ask me like, are you sure you want this job? Like that 6 months into the job, she was still asking me that. And I was like, oh, because I think the job as she defined it was, you do what I tell you to do. That's the job. And that was not the job I was doing. I was trying to advocate for the people that I represented. Yeah. And so that happens. And sometimes, this person, that same leader she got me that job. And I think she later realized that I was not the person she thought I was and what she was hoping for in that role. And that happens. And again, all I can say is that I got to sleep at night. And I got to sleep at night. The way I sleep best is knowing that I am like staying true to my values. And my values always are about trust, partnership, collaboration, community, those things are really important to me. And so if I might ruffle some feathers, and I have ruffled many feathers and probably will continue to ruffle feathers, but I sleep good at night because it's good trouble. It's the John Lewis kind of ruffling of feathers. It's like if you know in your heart what you're doing is for the greater good, keep doing it. To me, that's how I choose to live my life. And that's what allows me to sleep at night.
Yes. And I'm going to respond to the feel like I'm taking the place of someone else. I heard one of those high dollar coaches one time talk, and she said, a broke coach does nobody any good. And I took that in and I was like, she's right. Like, if I'm not making it, how am I going to help anybody else?
There you go.
And, if I can't put a roof over my head and food on the table and all those things. So I think sometimes when you're in that, you get the leg up and you're like, uh-oh, is that, what's behind that? Yeah. And is it the conditioning that we've been taught that we shouldn't, and we're small, or, small yourself down and take care of others? How do you take it? Can you step into that role, have more power, and now affect other people?
Exactly. Use that privilege. If you have any privilege, so yes. I'll answer this in a very general way. If you have any privilege, use it for the benefit of more, the greater good, the bigger community. Don't just use it for yourself. It might be that it benefits you, but find a way to make it benefit more people. And that I think is how you could look at that.
So we're going to wrap up in a minute. I'm going to encourage people to buy the book, either hard copy, like I like to feel the pages, or to get an audiobook. But there's some good reflection at the end of every chapter. And I think if you read a chapter, you'll be pulled in by the stories and the lessons. And then you will, you'll have a chance to kind of examine, like, so what does that mean for me?
Yep.
And what lesson am I learning from this? And there's these, 3 or 4 questions at the end of each chapter that cause introspection. And I think that's where we make the biggest difference, is when it's nice to read the book, but then what? So,
that's right.
we've been putting the book link up, but Hady, how would people get a hold of you if they want to reach you? What would be the best way to find you?
I would say LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. Direct messages on either platform. I'm always active every day. I will respond right away. You can also email me. Hola at Calladita book. CalladitaNoMore.com is my. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse people.
Okay.
Hola at CalladitaNoMore.com is how people reach me. But I would say DM me is part. You'll get my attention quicker through a DM. And yeah, if you're like interested in bringing the book in for like a book club, or you looking for a speaker for your team or your ERG, or if you're just looking to like level up in terms of self-advocacy and self-promotion, which are a lot of what we talked about today, I can help with any of those things.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And Veronica, I too have ADHD, and because I was doing this interview, I was like, I cannot go on there and not finish that book. So I did. But I will tell you that even if you read it a chapter and think about it and lay it down and come back to it later, you're fine. Because each chapter can stand alone.
Yeah.
Or it's part of a continuing story. It's one way or another. Just get in there and read that thing, because it is fantastic. And I want to thank Hady for being with us today.
Thanks, Laurie. This is really
fun. I really appreciate it. And I wish you all the best with the book. And I just want to say, too, not only ERG speaking, but also conference speaking. If you've got a conference that you need a great speaker for, definitely contact her. No, wait, this way. She's the one. And I don't know how it'll show up on the video, but you're on my... what is my left hand, right side of the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate you. Thank you for creating this space. I like the title of your show. It was so very much. It's very appropriate.
I don't think we dropped any of these today. Whoop, there we go. The F-bomb. We didn't drop any of these. I was the one. You were perfect, professional, whatever that means.
Well, that's good. But there's a couple of little sassy words in the book, yeah. but only for, to really, I think it just captures the emotion, and that's, and keeps it honest. And that's what what I try to do.
It does. And I want to thank all the commenters too. We've had
thank you for coming, y'all.
Questions and things to respond to. So thank you, everybody. And since we are filming this in December, enjoy the holiday season, everyone.
Amen.
And thank you for that comment. Okay, you're a great speaker. So Adela is saying that. Oh, thank you, Angela. Good job, Laurie. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody have a great day.
Ciao. Gracias.
Bye-bye.